So, as a young policeman, especially in Wilshire Division, LAPD in the 1970s, super hot division. And you would do more, you'd have ambulance shooting calls, you'd have ambulance stabbings, you'd have foot pursuits, vehicle pursuits, officer needs assistance, officer needs help, shots fired. I mean, it was just off the rails. So every time you went out, every single time at night, there were hot calls, multiple hot calls that you went on. And you kind of got used to it. And my training officer, and I mentioned before that I spent the vast majority of time with, was Tom Garvin. Black officer, former, he had been on, I think he had been on for 17 years. He was a former Marine Corps drill instructor. And really interesting because he had this lily white Patty, being me, who had never been exposed to the streets, violence, bad guys, or anything else. And he really gave me an education and to an entirely different world that heretofore to myself was completely unknown. Well, the interesting thing is you try to do the right thing on everything. I mean, I'm talking from report writing to pursuit driving to interrogation of suspects to tactics, communications, all that stuff. Well, you also have a lot of embarrassing moments, and one of them was on Adams Boulevard, and mostly we were PMs, which is nighttime, and interesting thing, as we pull up, we're driving down Adams Boulevard, Tom looks over and you see these four salty dudes who are standing up against, they look kind of what we called hinky back then. So we're going to stop, we're going to jam and find out what's going on. Well, Tom's driving, I'm passenger, and back then you had to have your hat on. So you'd stuff the hat in between the seat and the pillar, the B pillar on the vehicle. She'd stuff it in there, and not to exit the vehicle without a hat on back then was like a major high-grade felony. They put you in federal prison for that. You get written up, and the captain would talk to you and so forth. It was stupid. It was really dumb, and it was just a holdover from God knows when, Adam 12, I don't know. Anyway, then you had your baton. Baton was the straight stick, second growth hickory, and that was in a rubber tube that was mounted with a hose bracket on the side of the car. And as we pull up, Tom's offset from the curb probably about 1.5 feet or so, and I'd watch the old guys get out, and they get out really fast, and the hat would get flipped on. They'd take that baton. Some of them would spin it, and it'd go in the baton ring. Some of them would hit it, and they'd throw it, and it would land on one end, and it would spin around. They'd catch it in their hand, and then flip it around and put it in. And that looked kind of cool, and I tried that a couple of times, hit myself in the gonads, so I quit that. But as we pull up there, I go to get out real quickly. I'm going to, fast, quick, and everything else. Very aggressive. Well, I got caught up in the seatbelt. And not only did I get caught up in the seatbelt, but I end up with my ass in the gutter. I have one foot in the gutter, my butt in the gutter. I have my other foot, my left foot, still inside the police vehicle. My baton has now rolled into the gutter. The hat's on the sidewalk. And meanwhile, Tom has gotten out, and he's walking around to the front of the vehicle. And these four guys are just sitting there looking at me like, wow, that's a messed up dude, man. And Tom walks around to the front of the car, looks over, sees me, doesn't say anything, turns around, walks back, gets in the car, and I'm recovering now. I'm trying to get up, and I'm filthy and everything else, getting my baton, get my hat, try to get my feet untangled and everything else, get back up, and he goes, "Get in the car, Junior." And I got in the car, closed the door, drove. He never said a word for about 20 minutes. He just shook his head the whole time. So that was my attempt at being really cool exiting the vehicle to brace some hinky suspects.